Hello, this is Business Unscripted with Shae Spitz, and I am here with Ben Conover with Conover Properties and Tommy's Express. So thank you very much, Ben, for being here.
Absolutely. Good to see you again.
Yes, it's very good to see you. So tell us a little bit about what it is that you do and where you got started and how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, I just, since an early age, just always kind of had the entrepreneurial bug, just mind's always going. Early on, kind of always did things that were uncomfortable, right? I worked in a prison going to college. Actually did outbound phone sales. I mean, anything that was uncomfortable. First thing I did in real estate was I started buying older buildings. So I bought an old building in Pierce, gutted it to scratch, didn't know anything about construction, right? Basically starting from ground zero and just tried to meet the right people and figure it out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I started. First building was Pierce, Nebraska.
How long ago was that?
Probably 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, probably a decade.
So what got you that idea that you're like, hey, I want to go gut down an old building and renovate it? And what did you renovate it into?
Yeah, so probably like the first time I ever looked at a multifamily property, I was probably like 12. And I grabbed my dad's hand and I said, hey, would you go and show that? It's like I had a realtor walk me through and she was so polite. I mean, she acted like I could actually buy the building or I meant something. But no, I just always had run numbers and kind of looked at that stuff and just was interested. And so, when I started getting into it, I was looking at properties that were for sale where they were super expensive. Or looked at building them from scratch. Actually had some loss to build them from scratch and just couldn't do it for, a number that would make sense. And so I kind of met the right people, put the right team together, and found out I could build those for about half the price of building new ones. So we built it into 3 brand new, beautiful apartments, and the bottom was kind of done. A lot of those buildings we find it's, the bottom is beautiful and it's got nice commercial, but the upstairs is just kind of a wreck. So, we renovated the upstairs into 3 nice apartments. That's
awesome. So the upstairs and now is the downstairs like a commercial?
Yeah, so it was a flower shop and then actually a hairdresser shop. So I actually rented the chairs to some hairdressers. So
wow.
Nice older ladies that cut hair.
So now you still own that there, or have you gotten rid of it?
It's the only building I've ever sold.
Okay,
really? Probably the single regret I have is selling that building.
I hear that a lot. A lot of people say that their only regret is selling certain properties. So
definitely.
Why did you choose to sell it?
Somebody offered me an amount of money at the time that I thought I couldn't refuse, and so I took it and moved the money as a 1031 into some other properties, and hindsight being 2020, probably wouldn't do that again.
Yeah. But you never know. I mean, you think that it was a good deal, and especially the way things have gone now. How long ago did you sell it?
Probably 7 or 8 years.
Okay. Oh, so you didn't own it very long then?
No, probably, about 3 years.
Yeah. Okay. So then fast forward from then to kind of now. When did you get involved with Tommy's Express? How did that all come about?
Yeah, so Tommy's Express was probably, we started back in 2018. So another property I bought a small car wash in Norfolk where we had, the single automatic bay and the 4 self-serve bays, kind of like we're used to in our areas.
Yep.
And I would see people waiting in line for an hour to wash their car. And I'm sitting there wondering, watching these people move up one at a time and just wondering, why would somebody wait an hour to do anything? So started kind of researching it, got in touch with Tommy's, also got in touch with some of the other folks that some other avenues I could go. And in short order, within a week, I was traveling to Kansas City to look at Tommy's and traveling to Michigan and going to Minnesota and Texas and just kind of researching what's the best thing I can do. So we bought our territories in 2018. We were one of the very first franchisees before anybody really knew what it was.
Yeah. So you bought the property or the real estate way back then, before you even broke ground on the...
We bought the territories before we even had land.
Oh, I see. Because as the franchise, you have to buy certain areas. Now, do you could... Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, I mean, I think a lot of big misconception is that Tommy's is not this huge... I mean, it's a franchise, but local people buy the franchise, and then they take on the risk and the... stress, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's and Tommy's is getting huge. I mean, with the first Tommy Club we went to, there was maybe 20 of us sitting in a bank building drinking coffee, and now it's a convention center full of people all over the country and just excitement. And but it's locally owned. It's me, my partner Matt Preister in Norfolk, and our families own the majority of it, which is exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. That's awesome. So now, how many did you open up?
Yeah, so we have Grand Island was our first.
Okay.
Right, Columbus was our second. Norfolk opened actually 2 weeks ago. Kearney is underway now. They're putting up steel. That'll be open in about February or March. So the folks that wash in Grand Island that live in Kearney will be excited. And then we're opening another one in Grand Island probably April or May.
Really? So it's that busy of a market that you feel too is necessary.
Yeah, and so it's exciting for us because it's we think we call it the best mousetrap, right? But it's the best experience for our customer. The ease of use is amazing, but also the partnering of all these communities where if I join in Norfolk, I can use Columbus, Grand Island, Fremont, Omaha, Lincoln, Kearney, Kansas City. So
I would say out of state too, right?
Yeah, so you join one, you join all. You're right. You're not a member of one car wash. You're a member for of a community.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really neat. So then, do you feel that you're worried about competition? Because I know that's kind of been a little bit more of a popular car washes, I swear, ever since the last 2 years. You see car washes kind of going up everywhere. Has that taken away a lot of your business? Did that make you guys nervous?
Yeah, we try not to focus too much on what everybody else is doing. We just really try to do the best for what we're doing, and we're very comfortable with our offering and what we do. And the product and what Tommy's is. The competition obviously impacts it a bit. And other folks are going to do a good job with what they do, but we're 100% bought into Tommy's and think we'll do well.
And how do you think you guys are separated, or how do you separate yourself from others?
Yeah, a lot of different ways. I think, and I tell people, I say, go through Tommy's and go through everybody else. Definitely you be the judge, but some of the items would be, the best of everything, the best equipment. Everything is stainless steel. It's going to look, I've seen some of these that are 15 years old. They look the same, now as they did when they were built, or pretty close. The ease of use, the way our app system works. If you're a member and you need to cancel for any reason, right? You need deposit for any reason. You don't have to stop by the site. You don't need to make an awkward phone call about canceling something. It's, push a button. Yeah. Right. So, and I know some people think, well, it's, make it a little bit harder, keep more, but we just want it to be ease of use. And again, just the clustering of these communities, I think, is so powerful. Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of it is just having like a monthly membership, and then you can come and go whether you wash one time or 30 times. Yep. Do people have to wait like every 24 hours in order to go again? Like, is there a limit on that? Will it forbid them? There's no limit, but technically you have to wait. Like, it's goofy. It's like 3 minutes and 45 seconds, or the system won't recognize you. 3 minutes and 45 seconds, so people could just keep circling around, basically? You could go in a loop. You could probably get there faster through the car wash and back to the loop. So the record, I jokingly tell people, is 77 times in a month. So if you want to beat the record, that's your goal. Was that serious? That's serious, yeah. That's the record. Were they trying to actually, or was that just somebody in the general public who needed to wash it that much? It's a lady in Michigan that washed it that much. So it's like a buffet, though. Our average member washes 6 times. You have the lady that signs up that washes once, and we got a guy in Grand Island hasn't missed a day since a year ago, June 3rd. So you have a little bit of both spectrums. Some people who don't use it very often, and then other people who use it quite a bit. Maybe you don't want to get into like the nitty gritties of it, but I'm sure that it costs quite a bit per car wash, I would imagine. Are you able to kind of, maybe not with your areas, but does Tommy's Express have an average on what it costs Tommy's to wash per vehicle? Like, given the staff, the equipment, the soap, I mean, everything. Oh, yeah. They have, and it depends on how busy you are, right? So Grand Island is an example. When we opened Grand Island, it beat every record in the nation for a new car wash, right? Really? For Tommy's anyway, nationally. The cost to wash, as you get more volume, right, goes down pretty substantially because you have kind of your break even, and then everything on top of that is 90% profit. But on average, I mean, probably about 60%, 50 to 60% between all the chemicals and the soaps and the water and the labor and everything is, goes back to the house to pay for the expenses. Yeah. Well, one thing I thought was really, really interesting when we did the Commodore walkthrough, the ribbon cutting, however long ago it was here in Columbus, was how the mechanics can be controlled from somewhere else. I mean, right? Yeah, it's incredible. The infrastructure is amazing. When we had our walkthrough in Norfolk and we were doing tours, kind of like we did in Columbus, right, when you were there. I jokingly tell people, if you wanted to drill a hole the size of a quarter in that tunnel, it'd be pretty hard not to hit a conduit, right? There's so much stuff that talks, but every motor, every function is on an iPad. We can turn everything on and off at the push of a button. Something is broken, right? In Michigan, we call it a war room. They have a room with like 100 TVs where these guys are watching this stuff and analyzing our wash, but They can dial into every motor and tell us, is the RPM up or down, or is, we had a problem in Columbus yesterday, and they were dialing in through Michigan, kind of trying to figure it out.
That's crazy. So Michigan is kind of like the main station where most things are controlled?
Yeah, it's the Essenberg family has Tommy's Car Wash. They've been in the car wash business for 50 years, and that's where the headquarters is.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember going through all of that, and it was just mind-blowing to me. I mean, I know technology is amazing, but it was like a whole nother level. So, so you're opening another one. So Kearney's going to be opening up here pretty soon. And then Grand Island, you're going to be breaking ground on that one.
The second one in Grand Island, yep.
Okay, and do you use the same contractors in every location?
We do. We've been blessed with a company called Christensen Companies in Fargo, North Dakota.
Okay.
And they're our partner, and they are also general contractors. So I think they have maybe, and I don't know the exact number, but somewhere between 50 and 70 of these that are being built right now.
Oh,
a lot of which they own, but they've been great for partnering, and they've done a ton of these, which is huge. It's not a learning curve. They can come in and just do them. So
yeah, as I say, that'd be to me, I feel like that would probably be one of the biggest struggles, is keeping everybody on track, and then finding somebody who knows, especially the amount of technology that goes into it, who knows what they're doing and to do it right.
Right.
Because I'm sure taking care of any repairs at Tommy's Express, I'm sure it does add up if it wasn't done correctly.
Yeah, it's, you don't think about it. You got, with the concrete, you got 30 different slopes, because you don't want the water draining out like you do on most buildings. You want it draining in, and the windows have to be the other way, because the water's not supposed to go out, it's supposed to come in. So it's,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's a lot of learning curve. And with the electrical's pretty extensive.
Was that pretty overwhelming when you guys first got into it? I'm sure you don't need to know all the ins and outs, but I'm sure you probably need to have a general idea.
Yeah, and I think in anything with, as an entrepreneur, it's one of those things you kind of jump in and you raise your hand and say, I'm going to do this. I don't know anything about it. I'm going to figure it out. Right. Yeah. And so the first one we built, we're like, hey, what is that conduit? Which tower is this? And where's the pay station? And, now it's, now that we have 3 open, it's, we can, I don't know, now you see it, you can just kind of play.
Yeah. Now I'm sure it was a big risk between even I'm sure your wife had to get on board, your families. I mean, was that another tough hurdle to kind of get through?
Yeah, I have the best support. I mean, my wife is more family oriented and is much more detail oriented than I am, and so she kind of does that stuff, and she, just kind of 100% trusts me to do this. And I think if I told her I was going to open up a chicken hatchery, she'd say, "Hey, where's it going to be?" So. Yeah, it wasn't real hard to get her on board. I mean, she just pretty much bought in and kind of there by our side. So
yeah, I think a lot of times people struggle with the entrepreneur and starting their own business because maybe they don't have the support system that one really kind of needs or should have.
Yeah, the first few projects I did, like the Pierce project, and before that I did a storage unit project, and Sarah and I would sit down and we'd go over it and the money and all the stuff, and then I did 7 buildings like that. I just finished the Grand Theater building in Norfolk. It was 9 apartments and a big bottom floor, and it's kind of one of those, I think, like anything, just the history of it.
Yeah.
She just kind of earned that reassurance, I guess.
Yeah, because you already had the experience. So it's one of those things that you just kind of keep going, and then you got to do good so that way your significant other trusts you. And then you're just like, oh, hey, I bought another building. And they're like, oh, okay, sounds good. And you just kind of keep going.
I'm trying not to mess it up. I'm trying really hard.
It is tough because sometimes I'm like with my husband, he's a little bit more on the analytical side. I'm like, well, we can't think about it too much. Like, we got to get going. Right. So then, I already make an offer, and then I tell him like, hey,
yeah, and I think that's most folks, and I think that's human nature is, you analyze something to death. I've had 50 people come up and say, God, a car wash should have been in Norfolk. I had that idea 8 years ago. It's just the 4 years it took to find it. Find a lot on 13th Street that was an acre, or find a lot on 2nd Avenue in Kearney, or just the perseverance to do that is pretty tough.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting because once you finally do something, now all these people come to you and they're like, oh, I thought about doing that. I've been thinking about that for years and years and years. But you can think about something all you want, but until you start taking actions for it, obviously nothing's going to happen.
Yep.
And I hear that a lot. That even like when I do something, people are like, oh, I've been thinking about doing something like that, or I should have done that, or I think that's a great idea. I'm like, you can, you can. You just have to, 1, believe in yourself, and 2, just start taking actions to figure out if it's going to work. Right. I mean, most people will fail. You don't ever need a plan B because you don't ever want to fall back on anything. You got to fall forward. You're going to stumble. You're going to fall down quite a bit. But as long as you keep getting up and you keep going, you truly never fail.
Oh, the car wash thing was like, Matt and I went to like 4 Tommy clubs, right? 4 different years before we finally had one of these things open. Mm-hmm. Where I think at our 3rd one, we're ready to break ground on a lot in Grand Island, and we got a call and the lot blew up. Right, the whole thing fell through after we had architect plans and like stuff lined up to, and him and I are like back at zero, right, looking for lots, and so just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls and hours, and finally found one lot, and then all the work we had done over the last 3 years kicked in, and all of a sudden, now we got 4 or 5 of them. Mm-hmm. So it's just the waking up every day after you just got kicked in the face. Yeah. No, that's a good way to put it, because I think a lot of people see your guys' success now, but they didn't realize it took you 3, 4, 5, 6 years to even get to the point that you're at. It takes consistency, persistence, not giving up. I'm sure there was times that you had doubt between yourself and maybe your partner, that you somehow found a way to basically pull yourself out of it and be able to keep going, because a lot of people see somebody who's successful and think, oh, that was easy, or it must be nice. But in hindsight, there was probably a lot of tears. There was a lot of emotions. There was a lot of stress and maybe arguments and all of those things, Yeah, for 3 or 4 years, we jokingly just kind of said Tommy Club was the most expensive social experiment ever.
Oh, I bet. I bet
so many people.
Yeah, right? I know, like it's all about the networking, I swear. Like when you can make those connections, when you can network with people, that's where you make your money, is building those relationships. And because it's not always what you know, it's who you know.
Oh yeah.
And I find that in all aspects of life, but especially the entrepreneurial realm field, so it's interesting. And that's what I love about even like doing this podcast, is being able to connect and meet other people that help me go other places that I wouldn't have expected, or vice versa, that I can help somebody else. So
no, definitely.
Yeah. And I know you have a couple other, so you have the properties, and then obviously Tommy's Express, and then you have financial background, which I'm sure helps quite a bit.
Yeah,
with the business side.
I started in financial services back in 2008, and just like anything, so hard to get started, 4 or 5 years straight uphill, and then starting the properties with the multifamily, and again knowing nothing and kind of building from scratch. I know we did a property in Madison that was 12 units. Actually, it was an old bowling alley.
Oh.
We gutted to scratch over 2 years, and we got the plans done, ready to go, and all of a sudden they're like, "You need an architect." I'm like, I don't know any architects.
Oh my gosh, I know.
But yeah, 2 years later, got that done, and so it's I don't think anything we do has much immediate gratification. You just kind of keep stepping forward.
Yeah. I think, the financial side, and every entrepreneur probably I know I need to get better at it, is the financial side, and just making sure that your budget is correct and you have room for mistakes and errors and cost of anything going up. So, I mean, because that can make a big deal and big difference when it comes to your business. So I'm sure that helps quite a bit when it comes to your business side of things.
Yeah, great background, and has helped a ton. Knowing good bankers helps a ton. I kind of took that for granted with Tom. I figured I was pretty naive when we started kind of the process. I figured I knew all these bankers, and I'd banked with different places, and after all of them told me no, and I had to start making calls. It was pretty humbling. Yeah,
but, I believe it. Now, is there a book that, maybe going back to like the financial side, is there a book or something that you read that helped you financially get your stuff together?
Sadly, not really.
No? Okay.
I don't know how to even describe it. It's like on the entrepreneurial side, I just kind of always took it upon myself to call other people.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a book. It was probably more just talking to other people that were better than I was, and just not being afraid to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So, question, we're going to kind of wrap this up. What is one piece of advice that has helped you in your professional career?
Yeah, I think the best advice is, and I always knew this early on, is just be comfortable being uncomfortable. If you're getting a job when you're in high school, I have a lot of our employees at the car wash ask me kind of similar questions. Rather than going in nothing against Hy-Vee, I worked there for a little while, but rather than being a cashier at Hy-Vee, go door to door and do something. Make something and go sell it, right? Get on the phone, even though it's hard to make calls. Like, do something where it's, where you're getting outside the comfort zone. And then I guess the only other thing I would, is whether it's financial services or you want to build a car wash, you want to go into multifamily, call people that have done a bunch of it.
Yeah.
And just go ask questions, make friends.
Yeah. And I think people would be surprised that those who have done it and are doing a great job at it are truly, honestly willing to help out more than people think. Because people think, oh, they're so busy, they're not going to give me the time of the day.
Yeah.
But you never know unless you ask. And a lot of times you have to be persistent. You might have to ask 15 times.
Yeah, and I think everybody wants to make that quick dollar, but
Yeah.
those first few years, if you can be more excited about learning than you are the money, right? It helps out a ton.
Yeah. And then working on yourself too, just focusing on you, who you are, building your confidence. When you can build your confidence, you're going to be able to present or pitch a deal or pitch something to somebody, and it's going to make a lot more sense. They're going to see that you know what you're talking about, or at least it sounds like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the confidence, and you're always like, everything. I look at every project I do, you're kind of building your resume, right? Not really on paper, but you're every one of those notches in the belt is, it's another step on the confidence on the resume.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, Ben, if there is anybody who's looking maybe for a job or wants to find out more information about Tommy's Express, how can they get a hold of you, or who can they contact?
Yeah, definitely. If you're looking in Columbus or Norfolk or Grand Island, call the site directly. Have some amazing site leaders. I know here in Columbus, Ted Martinez, who's been just incredible, is our site leader. Reach out to him, and he'd be happy to help you out. So. And
that's like on Google. If they just Googled it, they can pull up the phone number, all of that.
Just pull up Tommy's Express Columbus, Tommy's Express Norfolk. All of it's right there. So.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming down here, talking to me about all of this. And obviously you do a lot more than really I even realized, but it's been great getting to know you, and good luck in everything that you have to do.
Hey, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Awesome.